It's pretty crazy to think that after 20 episodes and more than 90,000 residents, we are yet to build a single-family detached housing district here in Zeeburg. But that's all about to change, and it's not just gonna be any low-density district, it's going to be a super wealthy one for the elites, full of old money. Now, wealthy districts don't just appear out of thin air. There is usually some history, a historical narrative to explain why they exist in the first place. So I thought it would be fitting to take a tour of some of the more upscale, wealthy areas of Zeeburg, so that we can kind of explore the historical reasons for how things just turn out expensive and desirable. Oh, and it's also going to be a fun tour of some nice districts, so just grab a coffee and sit back. The first destination of this little tour is going to be Zeeburg's Old Town, and it's a bit of a special one, because it's not wealthy, it's more so just expensive. I mean, there is some concentration of wealthier people who own large apartments, penthouses, stuff like that. You definitely need a very high upper middle, very upper middle income to actually be able to afford that. But there's also students and young couples who just live way above their means in very small apartments, or maybe have several roommates. So it's a combination of wealth, a very high level of desirability, and that's kind of what makes it so expensive. And the explanation for this is just a recent trend. I say recent, but it's been going on for a couple of decades, of inner city areas becoming more and more desirable. Obviously, you have direct access to so many nice amenities, the hottest cafes, clubs, and public squares, some institutions as well, and obviously there's a charm to all the beauty in here. It's a very Instagram-worthy place. Now, our next destination is a district that is more classic wealthy, without having a mix of students and whatnot blended in. So we're moving far up north to the purpose-built wealthy district of Monterey. As you can probably tell, the architecture and color scheme here has been pretty streamlined, and that was just part of the main plan right from the get-go. It was built about 140 to 130 years ago. Most of the buildings here have sort of that age, and it was built by industrialists and other wealthy people at the time who wanted a place that was far away from the dirty, polluted inner city, which is a pretty ironic thing to say now that the old town is so desirable and hot, and some of all the industry as well. So this hill here was chosen because it was a breath of fresh air. Quite literally no pollution, because the wind tends to move southeast here in Zeeburg. So the primary financial backers chose to build a train station with direct connection to the rest of the city. Obviously, trains were the preferred method of transport back then, but it's also got a nice tram connection, so it's really nicely connected. And being a master planned district, that they thought in some green space and some artificial ponds from the very get-go, so there is plenty of nice green space here as well. So yeah, this one was a desire to get out of the city and find a nice cozy location. The next destination is all about location and less about getting out of the city, and it is Veststrand. Oh yes, I've chosen to keep the Danish naming here to just kind of influence my build a little with my own nationality, I guess. But the Veststrand is kind of like Old Town actually. It's a bit of a mixed bag. It's not a decisively wealthy people only district, but it is very expensive. But you do have young couples moving out here as well. And I mean, it's one of those areas where I don't want to talk up my building skills too much, but it's not hard to imagine why people want to live here. As the name implies, it is situated right next to the best beach in all of Zeeburg. So this area kind of just formed naturally due to the nice location, because the people of Zeeburg are pretty fortunate in the fact that while there is a very large coastline pointing out to the North Sea, there is also a massive bay and a river system beyond. So this means that most industry has been concentrated within the bay, because the waters are just more calm. It's just easier for ships to navigate and dock. And so as a consequence, most of the coastline has just stayed naturally beautiful. I hope you guys enjoyed this tour, but for those of you that don't, we're done in like 30 seconds, so don't worry. I just want to give a quick shout out to this district as well. So this would be Cambria. Most of it is dominated by the Naval Hospital, but the build-up part of Cambria situated on this small island here is definitely also a pretty expensive, desirable place, especially this old, beautiful residential development. More than 100 years old, and what a location, and quite some nice views as well. And obviously there are other pockets of really expensive districts within Zeeburg, but nothing that you can really designate as a wealthy district. Anyways, what this is telling me is that if we are to build the first truly elite single-family wealthy district of Zeeburg, we need a prime location. Yeah, the coastline of Zeeburg is already a pretty diverse mix of different environments. We've got some archipelagos, some cliff formations, some nice cozy beaches, and we're just gonna play into that to create this very special environment for the new district. We're gonna make a massive peninsula basically. I kind of want to play into this small one poking out, but just kind of oversize it. We'll make sure to place a nice old lighthouse at the very end, of course. And then probably the best located golf course in the world. I don't know anything about golf courses, so probably wrong, but it's gonna be a nice location. I'm gonna grab this height, I think, because I don't want to make it too high, and then we're just gonna get terraforming. Alright, well, we've got a bit of a peninsula now, but the more I look at it, especially from this angle, it kind of looks like a weird person moving through the place, wearing like a big coat. This is the head, this is like an extended arm, and maybe this is a tail. So it's not as much a person as it's a monster or some. This might be one of those psychology tests, like, what do you see? Which might tell a lot about your personality. Yeah, okay, so there's probably gonna be some changes to the peninsula, because I might need to just adjust it to the scale of the developments we'll be seeing here. But I don't think there's gonna be a ton of changes to this part here. I am quite pleased with how the lighthouse setup here turned out. It's got a cozy little restaurant, it's got a little museum as well, so it's a bit of a tourist attraction. And I tried to kind of shape this area so it doesn't look like that any terraforming has been done to accommodate these extra structures. I think it worked out all right. I think we can assume there was like a big cliffy rock out here, and then some of the grounds may have been flattened slightly to make room for these new developments, obviously. And the parking lot, I guess. I also enjoyed a wonky road. Yeah. It looks a little dangerous to be honest, but I think it's a really fun touch that it is essentially like a small island on its own. Now moving on, I think we'll need a proper country club to also kind of host the golf course. And the choice for this asset is obvious. I mean, that is obviously going to have to be the Parliament building of Tasmania, obviously. I mean, it's a no-brainer. This building from Trist is is obviously not a country club, but it is going to be a country club here in Zeeburg. Because I kind of think it fits the bill. It looks pretty majestic, pretty old, but it's not oversized. I quite like it actually. And I kind of like this placement here. I don't know if this is what you'd call a juxtaposition. Probably not, but I like it overviewing the bay and Veststrand. Because as we've discussed, you technically don't have to be wealthy to live in Veststrand. You just need to prioritize a certain way. But if you aren't wealthy, you can always look up there, see the country club and the immense wealth of the district that will sit on the peninsula above you, which is kind of symbolic in like an awful way. Nice. Now, I can't wait diving into placing all these villas and mansions. It's going to be such a radically different district from anything else we've got here in Zeeburg. But with that said, I think we need to place the golf course at first, because I don't know how to get the scale of this right, but I know that trying to retrofit it after placing all the mansions, yeah, that's just a recipe for disaster. But on the flip side, it's probably gonna be fun building the golf course, because we've got an actual asset pack on PDX mods now that should make this a whole lot easier, because the previous approach was a lot of manual surface work, and oh yeah, it was a mess, especially if you didn't know what you're doing. Now let me showcase you this wonderful new addition. There's actually a golf course clubhouse asset that you can place, and then you can add all the golf course extensions as actual upgrades. And that actually makes this golf course functional, at least in terms of having employees and bringing in some attractiveness. You unfortunately won't have people walking the causeway or driving golf carts around, which would be a nice addition. But as you can probably tell, there's a lot of flexibility here. It comes with some pathways as well that you can connect. Now, in our specific case here in Zeeburg, there's just one issue. I'm not a big fan of the clubhouse in terms of Zeeburg, obviously, because we've got the Parliament of Tasmania. Don't get me wrong, this is a wonderfully made asset, and it's pretty close to what I think of if I think of a North American themed exclusive golf club. But yeah, it's just not quite the architecture or the scale we're going for here. The cool thing is that we can access all of these individual upgrades as props instead, so we'll be able to manually get all of this placed. So let's get rid of this bad boy for now at least. We might need a suburban golf course in the future, having such a wonderful asset. We can find all of this stuff by searching for golf and find it. Yeah, I'm giving some expert advice here, I feel. Anyways, as far as I know, each segment or each hole consists of like the main stretch. You'll need a green at the end of it, and these come with a bit of a bunker as well, which is really nice. And then, let's see, you will also need a golf tee box. Maybe? Is this necessary for each hole? Not quite sure, but that's what we're going for. And then we can spice things up by adding these golf bunkers or graves. We don't have a lake to suck up all of the golf balls for all eternity, so I guess this is our next best bet. This is gonna be a bit of a trial and error process, probably leaning towards the error side for the majority of the time, but let's just get to it. It's probably gonna be fun as well. Okay, a few quick editor notes as we are watching the time-lapse here. To my great surprise, the actual layout of the entire golf course came rather quickly. Not due to my amazing creativity or city building skills, but more so as the nature of this asset pack is just wonderful. And there's 3 main sizes for these golf holes. They're like categorized into smaller segments, mediums and large segments, and they all have a bit of variety in between them, so you can actually get something that feels and looks really custom despite using these pre-made props. Obviously, I have to connect the dots by adding the final pavement path connections and adding some additional pavement paths as well, just to kind of customize it further. and then throwing in a bunch of nice trees and bushes as well. But honestly, this is just an amazing pack. I did try to make sure that each hole has all the necessities. Once again, not an expert on this, so there might be some stuff lacking, but it turned out pretty well, I think. As for the layout, I think one reason it also just came naturally is that this is a peninsula. So it does have this long, narrow shape, and I knew that I wanted villas and mansions on either side of the golf course to kind of like engulf it. Also because I'd like to reserve the best views for the highest paying customers. Yeah, as I'm saying that, it kind of feels like one of the real estate developers out here, which I assure you I'm not. And I'm not taking any bribes either. I'm completely objective in the construction of this best area in the entire city. I didn't want to add too many details, but the Parliament of Tasmania was looking just a little barren, so I had an idea of just switching up a few surfaces and ending up adding a European-themed motel building of an entirely different architectural style, which, yeah, I'm not fully settled on the addition of this. I just thought I wanted something a little more interesting added as well as a parking lot going around the building, because obviously there aren't a ton of parking spaces as part of the actual asset. I don't know what this additional building is. If you've got an idea, please let me know, because I think this one is going to require quite a bit of creativity. I mean, this does say Ryan Richardson, but I'm fairly certain this is someone else entirely, just under a cover name, riding the red late 90s Japanese sports bike. It's even got the 3-spoke wheels here. I mean, it's mostly cool, but as someone who's ridden before and used to own a bike, I'm not sure about the attire, man. I mean, shorts and sneakers. Yeah, that is a recipe for disaster if this guy crashes, but you gotta admit, it's a very, very scenic drive. Or ride, I guess. So, yeah, I can understand why you'd go out here on a scenic tour. And look at the amount of activity here. This is actually quite nice. I guess this is the addition of the restaurant and the museum. Turning into a bit of an attraction. As a final note to the golf course, or rather the clubhouse specifically, you did see me tweak it with recolor during the time-lapse, but I've reverted those changes. I'm pretty sure this is sandstone. So yeah, I mean, I'm already slightly offensive by turning the proud Parliament of Tasmania into a lounge club for the rich and famous of Zeeburg. I don't think slapping a cheap coat of red color on it would do me any good. And yeah, if you've got a great suggestion or just a suggestion for what this is and why it was built, please let me know. It currently functions as a hotel, which I'm totally fine with. I think it is going to help bring more people out here, but yeah, I think the final thing we're gonna do before we're gonna build something really interesting is I'm just gonna change the base surface here. Think I might go for a nice blue natural stone of some sort. Perhaps this one. That is very, very striking. And we're just adding a few nice bushes, mainly consisting of these beautiful varied color flowers. And maybe an exclusive community pool as part of a surely affordable amenity package. Oh yes. Oh no, I'm detailing again. It's just too much fun. I'm adding a few of these cliff props, and then it's gonna be a wrap. I promise. I promise. But I guess this does help kind of set the tone for this entire area. And then we're moving on. A bit of a view from the distance here with the, let's see, the field of view turned to 124. Does look like a pretty cool building there in the distance. And yeah, I think the cliffs work really well as well, but no more detailing. We need more cool things out here, including a 5-star hotel and some sort of a marina complex. Maybe just a small one, but one with some restaurants and outdoor seating options. And once again, I think PDX Mods might just have us covered in terms of the marina, because there's this new Con la Stadi asset. Oh, the pronunciation. I apologize in advance, but it is a very, very interesting asset. And apparently the first ever asset from this offer, which I think is pretty impressive. And it comes with outdoor dining, a really nice architectural design, and a mixture of a very old building with something new, and obviously a few piers for some boat docking. I was just about to say parking, but it is gonna require a little bit of terraforming. So let's get to that. I think it's all starting to slowly come together out here with some of these focal points. Now we need boats, and I'm thinking we need two types of docking options. Like you can either pay the excessive premium of docking right by this pier, giving you a very direct access to some amenities and obviously some nice restaurants, but you should also have another option that isn't quite as obscenely expensive. So I think for that purpose, we're just gonna use some of the Marina pier networks. And I'm going to try to kind of follow the overall design here of the structure. So let's see, it's gonna be something like this. Fortunately, this is just a wonderful network by the same author as the golf course and the cliffs. This build is being carried by a single author, Zeeburg, I think the name is. Can't pronounce it. Just gonna move that right in here for a connection. But yeah, I can use move it to configure this, make sure it aligns a little better. I think that's a pretty alright layout for the plebeian part of the marina. Oh, that is so offensive. We'll need some proper yachts though for the super expensive docking options here. And I think we're gonna drag this final segment out so that it actually kind of anchors by this small island here. Which, I mean, it's mostly just a rock protruding. We've got some additional fun geography going on. And I'm just trying to kind of supplement the original Marina pier from the mod with one of the in-game piers, just to kind of make it slightly more bulky and tiered, I guess, because the other one is very, very narrow for an area like this. And this does add like a few nice things. We've got some benches and whatnot going on. I'll just need to make sure that I can kind of adjust these so I don't have too much clipping. Because obviously I rely pretty heavily on anarchy for this to actually work. But I think it looks a little better with this configuration. Just gonna grab all the nodes here and try to lower them a little bit. Zeeburg's really starting to look like a proper city there in the background, but as far as the marina, we're not gonna do any additional detailing, not for now at least, but the asset really doesn't require it. I mean, it has plenty of props and surfaces, so it just kind of looks great out of the box. We're getting much closer to filling in the peninsula with its actual residents, but I was just about to forget the actual infrastructure we need in place probably beforehand. Because when we mapped out Westland a couple of episodes ago, we did opt to make a left turn for the tram line here so that it cuts into the actual built environment and separates itself a bit from the commuter rail service. And I think we may have discussed the idea of having some segments of the tram line move really close to the coastline, turning it into a bit of a scenic drive even. And I kind of want to lean into that. So we're gonna have a tram stop that maybe we'll have one serving the beach here, and then we'll move up the headland and continue north. I'm not sure anyone in this new district is going to utilize the tram. I don't think so. They'll probably grab their Range Rovers or whatever. But we're gonna implement it either way because it's fun and I think it's fitting for the city. So I think the best start is just getting a station in place. We're gonna go for an island platform instead of the regular side platform version, just to kind of mix things up. There's nothing functionally super different here. And then I think we'll need to map out the road layout as well, because obviously we will continue the type of development we're seeing here in the northern part of Veststrand to kind of just continue up the headland here. Maybe we'll have a bit of medium density mixed use around the tram station. I think the commercial activity here is probably influenced by the fact that you have these really wealthy neighbors right next door. But I don't want the urban transition from this area and Veststrand to the peninsula to be super stark. I mean, it's not gonna look like a gated community that is segmented from the rest of the city. It's gonna be a challenge, but let's just start with a few roads and bringing the tram network up here. Okay, so a few quick roads and a bit of a change to the tram network plans. My initial plan was to have the tram tracks fully separated from this road, but I just kind of felt that would be quite a bit of a barrier to the beach here. It's going to be a pretty bulky configuration. So we're going to do something instead. We're going to take this road here, we're going to edit it with Road Builder so that we get a custom configuration with dedicated tram segments. I think we might be able to fit it within the 3 unit wide road here. Then obviously we branch out to enable the tram island platform. We move in again, but then somewhere around this point we're going to branch out from the avenue again. So the avenue continues underneath this train overpass, but the tram tracks continue alongside the cliffs here. And this is where it gets really scenic. So let's dive into Road Builder and just give this a quick go. We'll say use as template. Then we are going to add some dedicated tram tracks to the to this side of it, which I think is going to be the left side. Yeah, that looks about right. Now this is adding 6 additional meters of width, and we want to make sure we sit on that 24 3 unit wide configuration so that it's fully interchangeable with this version. But we have plenty of flexibility. I mean, we can recapture the first 3 meters by just reducing the size of this median. Now we're still 3 meters too wide, so we can get rid of the 2 meters of parking. I don't want parking right next to the tram tracks. This will be changed to a shared car and bus lane. And let's see, we need 1 additional meter to be trimmed away. We could actually get 2 meters trimmed away by just reducing the sides of the sidewalks here. And that even leaves us a bit of space for a 1 meter wide median to separate the tram tracks from the car traffic. Something like this. And we still have parking on one side. That's pretty nice. Then we're going to grab this segment, we'll say place more, and let's see, we'll need to continue the stretch all the way down here for the first connection, and then probably to around this node here for this connection. I'm gonna just make sure this is a little more fluid because it looks a little wonky here, but I think this split here is gonna be the real fun one. The node here is gonna be a little tricky to intersect with, because if it gets too big, then the decline here to move underneath is gonna look wonky, but I think this might just actually work. So we'll just see if we can grab this node, move it to the height of this node, and yeah, that kind of works. So we'll just have a segment here that is really close to the train tracks, and we'll get these two connected up with a bit of snapping. I think that works all right, but we can make the transition from being a part of the avenue to splitting off a little more seamless by using manipulation mode. I think if we just, if we move this node a bit to that side and we just drag this one out, things are just gonna be just a little more nice. think it's gonna look even better if we just make this underpass segment a little less wide, something like this. We're just narrowing these sidewalks a little bit. I think this is about as good as it's gonna get for the tram station here, and I think it looks all right. It's pretty centered and somewhat symmetrical. Anyways, we're now ready to actually bring the tram line up here. So let's see, it's probably easy just to grab this one. It is the ZTN2 line that currently terminates, well, technically here, I guess, it just makes a weird reversing motion here because it can't reverse on the pedestrian segment. So let's just grab the tram line tool, and we'll just get a stop added up here. Normally we're gonna face this specific issue with the island platform because the tram can't reverse out because there's like a small one-track segment on either side which is just in one direction. But I do have a two-way tram track, so I'm hopeful that if I just upgrade these two segments, it is going to allow the tram to, I was hoping it could just back out here, but for some reason it wanna utilize this segment. But either way, as long as it works, that's fine, because it's obviously not going to be the final stop anyways. Let's get some fancy villas and mansions placed in Belmont. Yeah, I kind of felt this was a good name. It kind of reminds me a bit of Bel Air, which gives the same vibes, but this one's got a bit of a French twist, and I think in terms of the geography, it's not a terrible name either. Belmont. I mean, if you guys hate it, give me some suggestions in the comments, but you can't possibly hate Les Rochers. I think this means the rock in French. And if this is giving you connotations to a certain 90s action movie featuring Sean Connery on Alcatraz Island, then you and I are closer than you'd ever imagine. Okay, so in terms of the housing here in Belmont, we've got quite a few options, but we still have to get a little creative, and I imagine the district to be composed of two primary housing types. We've got the original housing stock. These will be old, beautiful houses. We're mainly going to utilize the large detached houses from the UK region pack. And then we've got the more modern, flashy mansions. Tasteless is another word. These will sit on locations where there used to be old houses, but maybe, they're probably just torn down because the owner wanted something else. And unfortunately, the city hasn't really done a lot to protect and mark some of these houses as historic. So some people have just been allowed to do whatever they please, which means that you might have a house like this one. Oh, that's the prop version. You get the idea. Being replaced by a house like this one. Now, I don't mind the architecture or the modern creature comforts of this house, even though I think the proportion is just... don't mind the overall look of it, but I do mind the idea of something like this sitting somewhere for 140 years and then getting replaced by this. Yeah, speaking of tasteless. Anyways, it feels kind of realistic, so that's what we're gonna have. We're gonna have a mixture of both. And in terms of getting creative, we probably can't rely on just the UK-themed large detached. We're gonna have to do a deep digging down into some of the vanilla European houses, the North American-themed houses as well, whatever we can find that looks pretty expensive and nice. But we are going to start with the signature buildings because they usually have a larger footprint, so just getting some of them placed at first is gonna be nice. I think there's also gonna be a bit of a split here in Belmont. Most of the more modern houses, the super flashy ones, are gonna sit here on the north coast. There's more size here. There's more place. There's more space here. There's more available space here. And then the southern portion here is a little tighter, and yeah, I guess some of the architecture here has been a little better preserved. Let's just dive into it before my language just completely breaks down. Do you guys smell that? What's that smell? It's the smell of money. My goodness, that is cringe. They pulled off that line much better in The Big Short. Another great movie you should go watch. Either way, I think Belmont turned out pretty nice. It is definitely giving me some wealthy, rich vibes with some beautiful scenery. I personally wouldn't mind spending a summer here, or maybe a lifetime. But it is very much a design of compromises. Because one major caveat is that most assets in this game, they aren't really designed for waterfront living in the way they're shaped. Ironically, the waterfront asset pack isn't designed for waterfront living. And what I mean by that is that, you know, a few assets actually do have most of the recreational real estate, the terrace, the pools, most of the, windows facing back. Facing away from the road. But most assets don't work like this, so they are a little harder to place in a waterfront setting if you really want to emphasize the views. So to kind of compensate, we've got these slightly weird small access roads allowing me to place some of the houses with their fronts towards the ocean. So the houses are moved a little closer to the ocean, and most of the window real estate is facing the great views. It very much is a compromise, but on the flip side, it did make the road layout here just a little more interesting. And I've also tried to put some consideration into the fact that this place is probably on average a little more windy than the rest of the city. And make that affect the type of bushes and grasses we'll be seeing here. So there's mostly spruce trees because they are pretty resistant to the force of winds at all time. And I think while Zeeburg may have done a pretty bad job in ensuring the architectural integrity of this area, they have some policies in place, which means that all the green space in between the houses are untouchable. Like you can't take your lawnmower to this place and just cut through it and they kill off any type of wild growth or biodiversity. You kind of have to let things grow. Although I'm sure we can speculate that a few trees that have otherwise obstructed the views of rich people might have just disappeared during a storm. Completely random, but mostly there's just a lot of trees and bushes and grass here, and quite a few bees, I imagine. Another little design choice I made that is less noticeable is that most of the houses that face the waterfront and all these winds don't have nicely manicured grass anymore. Some people insist on trying to maintain it, but I think most people along the actual cliff line here has just kind of given up because the weather is a little too rough. And I was considering doing a bit of detailing to the beach here, but with the upcoming terrain changes looking so exciting in the next CS2 patch, which is probably out when this episode is published, I think I'm gonna hold off on any terrain detailing because I think that patch is gonna be a game changer. I think we might end up approaching beach detailing entirely different, so yeah, I'm gonna put a pause on that. What we're gonna do instead is populate the more dense commercial center of Belmont. And I've got some general ideas. I want a small commercial center within these 2 blocks. And I'm super tempted to actually just reuse some of the French themed blocks here in Weststrand because they just work. They work pretty well due to the orange reddish roof tiling. But I am going to treat it as a bit of a fallback plan, a plan B basically, because having utilized this motel here, which is a commercial asset, I kind of feel inspired to use some of the other motels at first and then see if we can get that to work. Now hopefully I'll be able to use the change company mod to actually change the business that sets up shop so it's not all hotels, because that would be a little weird. It does seem like hotels is a very specific category on its own, and I won't be able to... Oh wait, can I? No, I can assign a hotel or I can remove it. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna keep some of the assets because they're not bad, and I mean, Belmont needs hotels, so I think that makes sense, but we're probably gonna do something a little different. So let's just move this hotel with a view over here, just like that. And then let's see if we can enable the city promotion policy. So this does increase the crime rate quite a bit, but 100% extra city attractiveness. I think it's worth it. What is the crime rate actually? Statistics, crime, 20. Is that a lot? I mean, not historically. Yeah, wow. Oh yeah, I remember. We used to have like a serious crime wave. It's pretty high historically, except for that one peak, so we'll see. I feel like this is a really tough area to build because I kind of want its own distinctive look, and I would lose some of that if I include the French-themed mixed use from Weststrand. So I guess by now I'm just trying a bit of experimentation, seeing what fits and what doesn't. Anything to make this building look a little less distinctively Mediterranean and a little more fitting for Zeeburg is worth it. Even using 10 decals. Let's see how that looks. We've got the Mermaid's Lounge, which we may be able to fit in as well. Let's get rid of the hotel here. Put that on the corner. We'll get rid of the palm tree. We could add a nice pub as well from the UK pack. I've also grabbed these interwar suburban apartments, and I think I should be able to squeeze in a few of these. They're gonna mix in with the custom apartment theme we'll be adding for some of the other locations here. Quite well, I think. So yeah, just adding a few of these should help make it just a little more varied. I don't want the density to be too low though, so we're just gonna try something out. Let's see if we can squeeze this guy in here. If I can get the oh, there it is. Get the alignment correct. Yeah, just a quick editor note. This was not the right asset to place here, and things are going to get even more confusing in the first parts of the brief time lapse. But it all turns out all right in the end. But it's a bit of a mess. Enjoy. Yeah, you know, in hindsight, I should have planned this out, so I do apologize if the past few minutes of footage has been a bit all over the place. I really didn't have much of a plan going into this. I had the initial plan of just kind of copy-pasting this setup, but then, I don't know, I just felt like trying to do something unique once again, trying to just mix and match many different asset types and seeing if I could come up with something new and just have a more diverse district, basically. And that's all fine and great, but without like some planning, it just got into a really tough bout of trial and error, kind of like the houses. I feel like there's been very few assets in this episode that I've like been very sure that, okay, this is what I'm gonna use. It's all been a lot of experimentation, trying out some things, and there is a lot of different types of assets here. And I'm still not quite sure on the overall design, really just trying things out, but recolor goes a long way. Just ensuring everything has sort of the same red and white color scheme, that really helped quite a bit. And I think from afar, which is probably the most important like viewpoint and perspective, it does look pretty alright. It does look pretty nice. Now we do need something else here in Belmont, and that is a high school, because education is looking all right throughout the city, except for the high school situation. That's just very bad. And I think I can combine two things here. I can build a high school. We need more than one, but we're gonna start with one in this episode. And then perhaps I can make it a school of dance, because in one of the previous episodes I renamed one of the universities School of Design, because I had by an era named it the School of Dance, but there was a comment most of you seemed to like, suggesting that we should actually have a School of Dance. So this is the Mediterranean High School, which I think by now fits all right with this area. I am so tempted to add the upgrades, so I think we're gonna do that, because I need the extra student capacity. It could be the Royal School of Ballet though. Yeah, I'm open to suggestions on this one. I don't mind this, I think that's alright, but it could be more dance specific, as long as it's not just the School of Dance. I mean, this is Belmont. It needs to sound more fancy. Also, it needs a few cliff textures, a parking lot, the best situated parking lot in all of Zeeburg, and some trees. Actually, an underground parking garage might just be a better fit. This location is a little too good for for an ordinary surface parking lot, I feel. So yeah, I think this is gonna have to do. It should look pretty cool as well though. Don't wanna get lost in any detailing, so I think just kinda adding a few halfways by just utilizing the actual surface that is already a part of the building. That's probably just a good start. Would feel just a little bit weird to have this football pitch in the middle of a performing arts royal school, royal academy. So a few planters and barely see it was ever here. Yeah, I mean, academy does sound even more fancy. Royal Academy, oh my. We're gonna be wrapping up with looking at some fun feedback from all of you guys. Things that I can fix in the short term and things that probably need dedicated episodes for the future. And we're gonna start with a bit of a fun one, as John lets me know that there's a little section of Foggy Street right by the hockey arena with enabled parking. And it is grating on him like nails on a chalkboard. And that sounds bloody awful. Now, Foggy Street is no more, because I guess the game just kind of renamed it as I worked in this area, which happens so often, but I can only imagine that it is this little segment of Edgehill Street where we have street parking enabled, right next to two intersections. There's also a pretty fun juxtaposition here with an American muscle car next to a Volkswagen ID bus. Anyways, we're gonna do the Lord's work here and implement a bit of grass on either side. I really hope this was the actual street you were thinking about, John. Otherwise, I think you might need a manicure. There was a general comment on the railway switches throughout the city, and I fully agree with some parts of this being a little unrealistic. I've tried to clean up some segments. There's still pretty awkward crossing availability here. But otherwise, I'm doing my best to just kind of clean up some of the mess here and make sure that the switches are just a little more realistic. But it's a work in progress, and we're still expanding on the railway infrastructure. And on that topic, there was a suggestion to build a much larger facility in the future with reference to this very, very small maintenance yard. A place where we could house driver training centers, housing simulators, classrooms, and even the ability for students to test out trains on separated tracks. And I think that could be a really fun idea for the future. Just in general, we're not done adding train infrastructure, and in the next episode, we're gonna add one of the more iconic trains out there to the city, which is also gonna be a lot of fun. Another bit of track infrastructure related feedback I got was to remove this tram stop here, or rather replace it with a stop right here in the central square. Now, I initially didn't do this because it's actually pretty steep. So if I use the architectural tram stops from the City Stations pack, one part of it is going to clip into the ground, while another part is going to hover in mid-air. Mid-air. I don't know why is that so hard to say? Anyways, the more I thought about it and the more comments I read made me think, okay, maybe we should just try this out. It's worth a shot, because we could just make this tram stop look a little different, I guess. It's as simple as just adding a stop to either side, and then we're gonna need an appropriate prop. just something to make it look like an actual station. So moving into transportation, I'm thinking of using these taxi stop extensions to a small bus facility. It's gonna make sense when I place them. I think I've utilized these for the commuter train station in Ferdinand as well, or between Ferdinand and Wilhelmspark, I think it is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add these. We're just gonna try to make them as symmetrical as possible, then just select them and lower them into the ground until the ground platform is gone. What do you guys think? Is this an acceptable solution? Do you prefer it to this platform station? I think for starters, I'm just gonna relocate the 2 stops over here without actually removing the platform station, because maybe we can utilize it for something in the future, maybe not. Who knows, there might be another route here entirely. Yeah, I shouldn't promise too much. Things are complex enough as they are. But we've got the stop here now, so it's going to be interesting to see people actually gather here. I just need to make sure that there is a bit of pedestrian access, obviously. This does look pretty cool, and people are starting to utilize it, but I think we can make it just a little more unique. If I were to add a node right here and a node right here, and then actually remove the tram segment just quickly. And then let's see if we grab a pedestrian street. Can I just bring that across? Get that connected up at a 180 degree angle, that would be. And then we'll grab the tram tracks, get that upgraded. Yeah, that is just a little cooler, I think. I'll see if I can grab a segment here just to drag this out ever so slightly so that it's a bit more smooth. Oh, I'm liking that. We just gotta make sure the stops are added back in because they were deleted, and just get them hooked up. Now we just have to wait for the tram, and it's made a stop up here, and it is so nice to see this many people actually utilize the stop here in Belmont. It's just nice to always see transit stops being utilized so quickly after you've placed them. It's like it's updated instantly. Although obviously you kind of need to create the demand for it. But ever since we made tram usage completely free throughout Zeeburg, then would you have guessed that it has increased? Anyways, we're making our way from Belmont down into Vestrand, and we'll see the new stop in action. Anybody waiting here? 4 persons and 4 dogs, it seems. That's a pretty wild ratio, but not surprising in this game, I guess. Anyways, that's it. That's gonna be it for this episode. As always, thank you all so much for watching and all the wonderful feedback and input. I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.